Today I'm planting one of my favourite climbing vegetables, and for that you need a structure. Some fruits and vegetables like to go upwards. They're natural-born climbers. If you didn't give them a support, they'd scramble across the ground, all your beans would be distorted, eaten by slugs and horrible. So this is a classic sort of tent-shaped structure made out of hazel poles, and I've lashed it together with string at the top. You can buy frameworks like obelisks for your climbing veg, but I'm going to make my own. It's simple, and kids love it too. All you need are 8 3-metre bamboo canes and some garden twine. So they're about a foot apart. I'm arranging the canes in a circle to create a wigwam and leaving a child-sized entrance on one side. Then I bring the tops together and tie them up with garden twine. So I've got my quite sturdy wigwam. I'm planting runner beans. You can grow them from seed or use vegetable plants until the end of June, and you'll be able to pick them in midsummer. Don't plant the whole lot, they'll fight for sustenance and water, so just break them up. Bean plants need room to establish, so I'm only putting 1 or 2 at the base of each cane. It doesn't matter whether they're inside or out, because they're going to twine around it. As the plants grow, they'll naturally wind their way up each cane, covering the wigwam with foliage, leaving you with something to eat and somewhere for the kids to play. Just remember that beans love moisture. Don't let them dry out. Keep them moist at the roots, they'll shoot up there, providing lovely, delicious, crunchy runner beans. It's now been 8 weeks since Alison and I began working on our veg patches. It's wonderful just what's happened in just a few weeks. The runner beans are legging it up the wigwam, and now you can see why they're called scarlet runners, because the scarlet flowers are in bud just about to open. They'll open and then you'll get a cluster of beans. Harvest them while they're young. Don't wait until they're big and long and stringy, because by picking them young, you'll encourage the runner beans to produce more beans.
Thing about runner beans, they do need a bit of support, so I'm going to run them up strings around these poles here. They'll go right to the top, and the beauty is they don't just give you beans, they also give you red flowers. So it's going to look quite beautiful here too. There we go.
When the runner beans reach the top of these metal poles, a good tip is to pinch out the stem tips. This transfers the plant's energy into producing more flowers and, in turn, more beans. When the pods are about 8 centimetres long, they're ready to pick, and the more you pick, the more new ones will grow, right up to the first frost in autumn.
Things that are dark in colour are usually a really good health indicator. And so is the same with this, which is purple sprouting broccoli, and it's one of my favourite vegetables. I absolutely love it.
Rich in vitamin C, which is good for the immune system, purple sprouting broccoli can be harvested through the summer and on into the autumn.
And when everything else has died down in the garden, this will come into its own and be a big beacon of gorgeousness in the borders of a winter. But what it doesn't like, funnily enough, is strong winds. You and me both, broccoli.
Katie's final option really delivers on value for money when it comes to both goodness and good looks.
Kale has a bit of a goody-goody reputation, doesn't it, of like health freaks, but I love the stuff.
Not only is kale packed with energy-boosting vitamin B, it needs little space to grow, and the leaves make a stunning display.
And the wonderful thing about it is you can harvest it for 10 months of the year. There are not many other crops you can say that about. It's absolutely bonza.
Ask most Brits what fruit or veg they'd like to grow, and chances are they'll say tomatoes. There's a variety to suit any taste, and I'm off to the greenhouse to show you how to get started. As a cathedral-like atmosphere, this is where I grow things I love. It's also my sanctuary. Sorry, dear. You grow tomatoes from seed in February and March, so if you want to enjoy them this year, you'll need to get hold of tomato plants. They're a tender crop that needs to be kept inside, either in a greenhouse or a sunny indoor spot, until June, when you can plant them out. 3 different kinds here. Tumbler, which is a bush tomato that produces lots of bite-sized fruits. Moneymaker, a classic old cordon variety, which is a single stem. And Sun Gold, a golden tomato, still with wonderful flavour. Most tomato plants, like this single stem variety, need support. It will then need a stake to which it can be tied in as it grows. That can stay in a cool greenhouse, a conservatory, a very bright windowsill, inside French windows, whatever you've got, on a very sheltered balcony, but yet not outdoors until very beginning of June. You can also grow them in growing bags. This is basically a sack of compost, slit open at the top, 2 plants put inside it, and 2 stakes given to them. With any luck, we'll have some tomatoes before the end of the summer. One of the pleasures of growing your own in midsummer is that crops you've been growing from seed indoors can finally be planted out. The tomatoes I planted in the greenhouse just a few weeks ago when they were only that big. Baby, look at them now. These youngsters here, because we're well into June, we can plant them outside. Tomato plants need a sunny spot and will continue to grow, so I've assigned each of them a stake and left 50 centimetres between plants. By sinking a flower pot in alongside the tomato plant, I can water into the pot and it will go straight down to the roots where it's needed rather than just running off the top. There we are. You can even grow outdoor tomatoes like this on a doorstep if it's sunny, or a patio in a growing bag or a large pot. And by the end of the summer you will be getting a crop if the sun keeps shining. The joy of anticipation and the slight postponement of gratification. Richer in fibre and vitamin C than ordinary spuds, sweet potatoes are great to grow for the little ones. This time of year, it's best to grow them from veg plants in a greenhouse. His is full to the brim, so David's had to find another solution.
So I'm going to grow my sweet potatoes in cold frames.
Perfect for smaller spaces, a cold frame protects tender crops if there's a cold snap and traps heat inside when it's sunny.
You can buy these, anything from £50 to, I suppose, 500, depending on the size of them. But I thought I'd have a go and make it myself. So what I've done is I've built a framework up, taller at the back, shorter at the front. And then I've taken another plank and cut it in half like that. And I'm going to use this as the slope. And then the frame just fits on top.
For the lid of his cold frame, to make it safe for the children, instead of glass, David's using durable, heat-retaining perspex.
Best thing to do is to buy an offcut. An offcut is a fraction of the price of what you pay normally, and then build the cold frame around it.
David's cut 2 frames for the roof to sandwich the perspex and screws them together, holding it in place.
Now I've left a slat out there for a reason. When the rain falls, it can wash straight off. A couple of hinges at the back, and there we've got it, a working roof.
Sweet potatoes love warmth, so David's adding layers of compost and grass as a base.
Probably about 2/3 grass to 1/3 compost. And that warmth will give well-needed boost to the sweet potatoes. They should perform really well. I'm going to try and get 4 good plants in here. In you go.
With regular watering, David's sweet potatoes should be ready for harvesting in early autumn.
I'm not going to close that completely. I'm going to put that just in there so there's a little bit of ventilation, but the heat from the rotting grass from the sun through the top here, and also warming up the wood as well. Should get these off to a really good start.
David's built another cold frame for one of Mrs. Dominic's favourite vegetables, aubergines. You can grow them outside, but they'll need a good summer. By planting in a cold frame, you've a better chance of a decent harvest.
You know, each one of these will probably sustain about, what, 5 or 6 decent-sized fruits.
Once each plant starts to flower, David will give them a dilute liquid tomato feed once a week to help them grow. In between a row of leeks and parsnips, I'm going to squeeze in what's known as a catch crop. What I'm going to use here is spring onions. Now, if I were to put beetroot or another root crop alongside the parsnips, they'd compete for underground nutrition. But these spring onions are quite narrow and slender. They'll come up between the two and won't compete too much. Even in containers, planting fast-growing catch crops like spring onions in the gaps between slower-growing veg means you'll have something to harvest while you wait for your late-season crops.
Kind of plant them in little clusters rather than separate them into individuals. They really won't mind.
I've got them here about 4 or 5 inches from the rows on either side of them because the leeks and the parsnips won't overcrowd them. What I want to show you today is how I grow vegetables from seed, and step 1 is to prepare the soil. You can, in autumn and winter, work in lots of muck or garden compost. It's a bit late for that now, so if your soil is in reasonable heart, stick to this. It's an organic fertiliser. Then I break the soil down with a fork before carefully raking it level. Now we're ready to sow. You can sow many popular varieties of vegetables from late May into summer, and many will be ready to eat within a couple of months. I'm growing a row of radishes, which can be sown from March to August. One of the fastest growing vegetables you can buy, they're a great choice for the first-time veg gardener. To make my line, I'm using a garden line. You can do it with 2 bits of cane and a bit of string if you want. Push that in one end and then run it out. This ensures you'll sow your seeds in a straight line. And then with a cane, step on the line and flick a little tiny furrow out. Just remember to bend your knees when you're doing it. Why are you looking like that? You can't get up. To give them room to grow, radish seeds need to be sown about 1 inch apart. Then pinch the soil back over and give them a good watering in. Water's vitally important to vegetables and fruits when they're growing. If they're suddenly allowed to dry out, they'll either stop growing and die. Mrs. Titchmarsh is going to sneeze. Thank you. Right, we'll try that again. If you don't want to grow from seed, you can buy veg plants, but check the label to make sure you space them correctly. Give it a go, and I bet before long you'll be hooked. But I've been watering to keep them growing. Just look, lettuces, red cabbages protected from the pigeons, and runner beans which are already starting to go right up the pole. Most exciting of all is that some crops are ready to be picked. I sowed these just 5 weeks ago, and look, already lovely big fat radishes. And when they're this big, they're ready for pulling. Take this in the house, rinse it. Here's one I've rinsed. And then hot, crunchy, white flesh, beautiful.